Happy Monday. I just wanted to pop in, do a quick update on the forecast for today as well as for the next couple of days. We do have a storm system starting to roll into the region. This is sparking off some light to moderate rain showers, primarily for northwest and west central Montana, and this is going to continue to be the case at least for the next few hours before we start to see some more thunderstorms develop into parts of the area. So if you can give me about 30 seconds to a minute, I'll get all my ducks in a row here behind the scenes. I'll flip this around and show you radar over the last 4 hours, I should say, and we'll get started with this here momentarily. But again, like I was mentioning, northwest and west central Montana, that's going to be the focus, at least for the short term. And then we'll see some more impactful weather as we get into the afternoon and evening into southwest Montana. That's working there, and that is working there. So I have to say at this point, let's get rolling with this. Thank you all for tuning in. As you're tuning in, certainly let us know where you're watching from, and then what kind of conditions you're seeing out your window. But also, if you have any questions or comments as we go throughout this update, certainly feel free to ask those in the chat section. I'll try and keep an eye on them as we go about this update. So let's get underway. So we've had a trough of low pressure move into the region. You can see it roughly a little bit of spin right here north of Spokane. Some of these showers move in that direction with the majority of the moisture coming in from the southwest. This is going to be really that flow through the day, and I think focusing as this trough gets a little bit closer, it may actually lift a little bit more southwest and northeast as compared to that southwest and northeast orientation we're seeing right now. So let me stop this. I'm going to zoom in a little bit closer, do some closer up views of the area. Starting to see some more of this moisture moving to Kalispell, up into Glacier National Park. Again, most of this is light rainfall, just some lighter sprinkles and whatnot. But you get down here from about Polson down into the Mission Valley. So Polson down through, let me zoom in a little closer. We're talking Pablo, Ronan. Let's see if I can get all the way in. There we go. Where you're starting to see some of these yellows and oranges, where we're picking up a little bit more rainfall. So from Polson down through Pablo, Ronan, down through Charlotte, north of Dixon, and this is going to be over at least near the Bison Range, which is roughly in this location. But that's going to be that focus of heaviest rainfall from Ronan back across Highway 200 and then down in the direction of St. Regis, Superior, Paradise. But we're even seeing a little bit more moderate rainfall starting to move into the US 12 I-90 corridor back over here towards Missoula, Lolo, especially as you start heading up over Lolo Pass, and then in the mountains as it's going to drop over into Frenchtown. So we'll see roughly the motion of that. If I can get this to work. There we go. So yeah, moving in pretty quickly. I think this heavier band of activity is going to move into the Frenchtown, Alberton areas over the next 30 to, say, 20 to 40 minutes. Let's give it a little bit more of a berth there. But we'll continue to see these showers moving in from the west and southwest all morning. Maybe even a little bit more activity moving into the Highway 83 and Highway 200 corridors over towards Seeley Lake, Potomac, Clearwater. But then you get to about Ovando, Lincoln, Stevensville, and then south and east of that line is where things start to quiet down more considerably. That may end up being the case for much of the morning once you get south of, say, that line right there, where we get a bit more dry air that tries to move in. As for southwest Montana, other than a few spotty showers down here over towards Big Sky, south of the Ennis area, we're looking pretty quiet right at the moment, and like I said, I think that should stay that case for at least the next little bit. As for live conditions out there, we're getting a bit of haze in Dillon. We're still dealing with the wildfires to your west, and that's going to help bring more of that smoke in through the day from the Big Bear and Rush fires in Idaho. We've seen a mix of sun and clouds throughout the morning. Right now we're looking at those partly cloudy skies. As for both Kalispell and Missoula, we're stuck in the clouds, and Missoula, I It is raining out there. I was just catching a few of those raindrops falling on the camera there, or falling in front of the camera. And this is actually looking back in the direction of the deer fire, which is located roughly in here. That's why the camera's facing this direction, as we were getting a view of that fire over the last couple of days. Good news is hopefully this rain helps to dampen the fuels out there and helps to limit the amount of growth on that particular fire throughout the day. Now, as for those temperatures, 50s and 60s are common right now. 61 with showers in Kalispell, 59 with the rain in Missoula, 61 in Butte, 64 in Dillon. Looking at those mostly clear to partly cloudy skies. Though, again, like we were saying a minute ago with Dillon, it's a bit hazy as we go, at least for now. I'm likely going to stay that way for much of this afternoon. Now, for those temperatures, with the amount of cloud cover and rain that we're seeing for northwest and really from Interstate 90 and north, I'll just say northwest, west central Montana, temperatures in the 60s and 70s are going to be common, maybe even some upper 50s in a few locations like we're seeing there at Cut Bank. Across the divide, wouldn't even rule out a few 50s in our region as well. 66 Kalispell, 72 Missoula. So as we get into southwest Montana, those temperatures back into the 80s for many areas, maybe even approaching near the 90-degree mark in a localized part of southwest Montana. They're at 87 in Bozeman, 80 for Butte and West Yellowstone. But you see those lightning strikes showing up on those icons. We will see that chance for some thunderstorms later on in the afternoon. Now, as for the precipitation chances before we get into the thunderstorm outlook, I think for the next 2 days, we're talking anywhere from about 50 to 80% likelihood of showers and thunderstorms. Greatest coverage will be for northwest and west central Montana, specifically northwest Montana, but still I think for southwest portions of the state, as we look at Future Tracker, you'll see that 50% makes a lot of sense down there as well. Then by Wednesday, I think we're going to start to see this system push off to the east. We'll start to see zonal flow take shape, and that's going to lead to a warming and drying trend. But we have a little bit of time to digest all of that. Now, I did want to look at that severe weather threat for today. It is pretty low for most of our region, but as you look into northern Gallatin County, as well as Broadwater County and parts of Jefferson County, the far eastern parts of Jefferson County, we are included in the marginal risk. An isolated severe thunderstorm or two can't be ruled out. Main impacts will be those gusty winds of 58 miles per hour or stronger. I think in general on the day, though, 40 to 60 mile per hour winds in the thunderstorms in southwest Montana can't be ruled out. I think the better chance, much like the Storm Prediction Center has indicated, for severe weather is going to be off to the north and east, though again, just want to make that known that Bozeman, Townsend, I'm trying to think, Belgrade, Manhattan, potentially, right out to around Three Forks. Those are the areas that we could see at least a couple of stronger storms for this afternoon. But again, best chances or higher chances of that will be further off to the east. So going into Future Tracker, let's start this right around, well, let's just start it right now. It might be just a hair underdone in the amount of moisture that we're seeing from Missoula back up to Polson and Kalispell. It may be just lagging behind a little bit. So I think it has the right idea, though, on the location of the moisture. Just maybe not quite enough of it right now. But following that trend, how I mentioned, we may see this transition from more of a southwest to northeast look as we go into the afternoon. Watch how this lifts a little bit more south-southwest to north-northeast. Where that ends up taking shape, if you're just east of this, like this particular model is indicating happening from Missoula, we may just miss out on the majority of the rainfall for this afternoon, and that'll transition up into northwest portions of the state. So really into Lincoln, Flathead, Lake, and Sanders counties, where we could see the majority of that, but even Mineral County could pick up some decent rainfall. So that's going through the morning. Then we get into the afternoon, and potentially as early as about 2 to 3 o'clock, we'll start to see those thunderstorms develop in southwestern Montana. And you see that first band right here from just south of Lost Trail Pass, I guess over towards the Wisdom community, over through Wise River and Butte. That's going to be one batch that we watch for, and then down towards West Yellowstone, Red Rock Lakes National Wildlife Refuge, where we could see a few more thunderstorms try to take shape. The ones that develop closer to I-90 will be the ones that have that better chance to get on the strong to marginally severe side. May even see one of those try to develop back here towards, say, Georgetown, Lake Phillipsburg area as we get closer to, say, 4 or 5 o'clock. But you notice how the majority of the stronger storms, like I was mentioning, are going to be north of Interstate 90. I think north of Bozeman, we're going to be right on the edge, but you notice how those really develop into a pretty large mass of thunderstorms, and we get two main clusters of them. One that's, again, north of Bozeman, east of White Sulphur Springs, back here towards Lewistown, and then another one along I-94 here east of Billings. Now, the storms aren't going to develop exactly in those locations, but if you have friends or family out towards Lewistown, Billings, Miles City, just give them a heads up. Let them know another round of strong to severe thunderstorms are likely to move their direction later on this afternoon. As for our area, we'll continue to see those showers primarily located in northwest Montana through the evening. Much spottier as we get beyond, say, 7 to 8 o'clock, but still can't rule out some showers moving into really area-wide. It's just going to be pretty spotty after we get past about midday, I think. Though, and this is the first time I'm looking at the newest run of the models. Earlier, we were seeing a band develop right across the northern Bitterroot, Missoula, Jocko, and southern Mission valleys. This particular model isn't developing this one quite as quickly, so this is one change from even the morning show. We were seeing that potentially as early as about 3 to 4 o'clock. Now we're not seeing that band develop until maybe closer to 10 o'clock, 8 to 10 o'clock. That's going to be an association with a stationary boundary, and where that stationary boundary sets up, we could see at least a period where you get heavy rainfall right along that band. East and west of it, say 20, 25, 30 miles, you may not see very much rain at all. So I was reading through the National Weather Service forecast this morning, and they said this is kind of a feast or famine type of scenario with this particular band, and I completely agree with it, where we could see some pretty heavy accumulations of rainfall right along that. But again, 20 miles east or west of it, you may not see hardly anything. So it really just comes down to where that band develops, where we could see those heaviest rainfall rates, but maybe even some minor street flooding, especially if that happens to line up on a burn scar. That actually could lead to some more significant problems. Hopefully that doesn't happen, but it's really just a watch and see type situation. Main location for that, though, at least as things look right now, will be across west central Montana if that were to develop. And that's a big if it develops. Now, continuing to look forward through this, we'll see that band take shape, stretching from, I'd say, pretty close to the Clinton area, back up across the divide up towards Cut Bank. But you see that moves off, we see those thunderstorms develop along it. We see some more showers in southwest and northwest Montana, maybe even a little bit of clearing in west central Montana as we get into Tuesday morning. Showers continue in northwestern portions of the state. Some of this could be moderate to occasionally heavy rainfall. At this point, I think we're looking primarily dry I-90 and south, but more showers and thunderstorms likely develop pretty much in the same areas that we're expecting them to develop today across southwest Montana. So Butte, back across over to Salmon, Dillon, Ennis, Bozeman, West Yellowstone tomorrow afternoon, with thunderstorms potentially redeveloping in northwest Montana. Though scattered, shower activity will be more common up there. This will continue into Wednesday morning, though on a diminishing trend. And I think, and this is another change from earlier models, there was another little cluster of thunderstorms that were moving through northwest Montana on Tuesday morning, or Tuesday night, late. For the most part, this isn't really showing that. It's just showing those showers pretty much falling apart through Wednesday morning. We start to clear out, though southwest Montana, Bozeman area, West Yellowstone, maybe some isolated thunderstorms try to redevelop for Wednesday afternoon, but I think the majority of Wednesday, and for the majority of communities in western Montana, we should be dry by the time we get to Wednesday. So really it's just today and tomorrow that we'll have to contend with the active weather, but we are getting some beneficial moisture out of this, and it's certainly something we will take, especially with the wildfires that we have been contending with. over the last little bit. We haven't seen some major starts, but starts nonetheless have been causing some impacts. So this is looking at the rainfall projections through Wednesday afternoon, Wednesday evening time frame. I think about 1/10 to 1/4 of an inch will be common across the region, though you notice there are some gaps back over towards the Missoula-Bitterroot valleys, parts of southwest Montana. Not everyone will see rain from this storm system, and if you do see rain, it may be less than 1/10 of an inch, but if you happen to get underneath one of those training bands of showers and storms for west central southwest Montana, underneath the training bands of showers or a thunderstorm or two, that's where you could see a little bit more enhancement in the rainfall, upwards to maybe closer to 1/4 of an inch. Northwest Montana, I think you are going to be the winners of this particular storm system. You're going to be closer to that low pressure system. You're going to have that moisture wrapping around the center of that's going to slide right over the region. I think about 1/10 to 1/2 an inch of rainfall will be common up into northwest Montana. But you see these yellows showing up. This is that 1/2 inch to inch range, and that's pretty close to the US 2 corridor. So from near US 2 and north, common 1/4 to 3/4 of an inch of rainfall with some isolated totals exceeding 1 inch. Best chance for those will be in our higher elevations. You're seeing some of these like 1 to 2, maybe even 3 inch totals. That's going to be up in our mountains, valley areas. 1/4 to 3/4 of an inch are going to be a lot more common. So the reason for all of this is this trough of low pressure that we're seeing. This is bringing in that bit of southwesterly flow that's helped to keep us a little bit more moist this morning and help to keep those temperatures up. As this trough stays in place Tuesday, it actually begins to separate. We get two pieces of energy. The first that's impacting our region will start to slide off to the east. The second one, diving off the Pacific coast, will essentially cut off, and that's going to bring zonal flow back into our region. So for Thursday, Friday, we're going to be looking at dry and warming conditions with that zonal flow, similar to what we saw at the end of last week. We will have to watch another approaching trough. This is going to be moving into Friday. It doesn't look like at this time that it's going to be a rainmaker, but it could lead to some breezier winds, mostly because it just doesn't move. It stays down here. It separates from the main flow once again up, and that moves into Canada, and we're just left back into another zonal flow pattern, maybe a little bit of a ridge that builds into late Saturday and Sunday. So we've got plenty of time to watch that. Just kind of a heads up, we could be talking some breezier winds later on this week. Now, as for our temperatures, here's what we're trending towards. The next couple of days, we're going to be primarily 60s and 70s outside of Bozeman, where we could be into the low 80s. It's all thanks to the rain, the thunderstorm activity. But watch how we get later on in the week. By the time we get to Thursday and that zonal flow takes shape, we're back into the 80s and 90s area-wide. Bozeman looking at 91 there on Friday, 89 in Missoula. Wouldn't surprise me if we do reach 90 once again. Looking at low to mid-80s elsewhere. And that continues into Saturday, looking at more 80s and 90s. Sunday, much the same. So once we get beyond this storm system, or between now and, say, Wednesday, Thursday through Sunday right now look to be pretty consistent in those conditions. Mostly clear to partly cloudy skies, breezy winds, maybe 15 to 25 miles per hour. And again, those temperatures warming up. One bit of good news, though, this time last year, we were just starting to get into, actually, we were in the throes of a pretty nasty heat wave. We were looking at temperatures in the upper 90s and 100s really from now through the 24th. And that's when that big windstorm, the derecho, moved through the Missoula Valley and the northern Bitterroot Valley, caused all that damage. But this time last year, we were already talking temperatures into the triple digits, and we were in that streak of 5 days in a row of over 100 degrees. We haven't had a 100-degree day yet. At least I know here in our main cities, Kalispell, Missoula, Butte, Bozeman, no 100-degree temperatures yet, and looking into the extended forecast right now, it doesn't look like we have a prolonged major heat wave moving into the region by any means. So we're kind of just in that wait-and-see period when it comes to the heat. As we get into the next 2 weeks, though, that is our peak heating of the season, or at least based on averages. where we get those 80s and 90-degree temperatures most commonly. So yeah, we're just again still waiting on the worst of the heat, and hopefully we maybe have already seen the worst of the heat. That may be something that has happened, but we've had these storm systems pretty consistently. They haven't necessarily produced a ton of rain across the region, except for in a few localized areas, northwest Montana specifically, but they have moved through enough that they have kept our temperatures down, and they've kept that heat from really building in. And I think that's another reason that has helped us with our fire season so far. Not seeing any really major starts outside of, I'm looking at like the saw log fire earlier on. I can't even remember if that was in April. So very early seasons start. So knock on wood, hopefully that continues to be the case, and that we continue to see pretty quiet fire conditions. I do believe I have one graphic showing, yes, the most recent fire updates and some of that information. From the last time I did a YouTube live last week, which what was it, Friday, we've had a few new fire starts in our region. The Deer Fire in Missoula, or southeast of Missoula, up above the Patty Canyon area, that started on Friday evening. I actually watched the first of the smoke plume. I was down on the south side of town and watched that first little smoke plume go up from it. I immediately was like, uh-oh, that could be a problem. But right now, from the latest update that I saw, right around 75 acres. It was at 100. They've been able to get some aerial mapping in there to get the most, I'll say, best mapping of it that they could. So right now, let's see. Yeah, around 75 acres up there right now. This moisture, the cooler temperatures, this is definitely going to help with the firefighting efforts on that fire. So that was the main one that started this weekend, or Friday through the weekend. We also have the Carmine Creek. This is to the in between Lost Trail Pass and, say, the Georgetown Lake Anaconda area. This is up in the mountains there. Only a couple of acres burned on that one. The two big ones that are nearby still continue to be the Big Bear and the Rush fires. Those grew significantly since Friday, and both of these fires are now over 6,000 acres, with the Big Bear actually over 7,000 acres, and I believe, I'm not sure that those have any containment on them. The last update that I saw didn't have containment on those at all. Carmine Creek is around 5 acres, 75 for the Deer, 70 on the Garnet fire, and I think for the most part, yeah, looking at latest updates, the containment is growing on that fire, so that may be pretty much a non-issue here pretty soon. Same thing for the Cherry fire back into Idaho as well. This particular fire here, with some extra smoke coming in, again, southwest Montana, that's all, most of this is coming in from these two fires down towards Dillon. A little bit of haze towards Bozeman is due to those two. I'm guessing yes, unfortunately, you probably will continue to see that smoke in the air down there, again, due to the Big Bear and Rush fires. And with this kind of southwesterly flow, this may bring this more into Butte later on today. But I think as this trough continues to push off to the east, we'll see more of this spreading in beyond Dillon, Bozeman, and then areas north and east from there. So that will lead to, again, not only the smoke in the air, but some probably slightly reduced air quality as well down across southwestern Montana today. You might even get some of that smoke entrained into the thunderstorms that we see today. Smoke can do weird things with thunderstorms. Sometimes it can actually limit how much instability those storms can ingest and actually make them just a little bit weaker. But then thunderstorms can then create their own fires regardless, if it's dry and they hit the wrong spot. But yeah, just kind of an interesting thing there. The other fires, the ones back in Washington, the Hope and the Lake Spokane fire, those continue to pump smoke into northwest Montana. So those are really, I think, the two drivers for northwest Montana's bit of haze that we've seen over the recent days. Big Bear and Rush for southwest Montana. But again, with all the clouds that we're seeing, the moisture that we're seeing, this will definitely help those firefighting efforts. Even if you don't see a lot of rain into portions of the area, just the cooler temperatures in general will definitely allow crews to at least get a little bit more of a handle on some of these fires. So if you have any questions or comments, this is sort of the last call going through this final graphic. Here's the headlines. Here are the recap of what we're looking at. Today and Tuesday, showers, thunderstorms, cooler temperatures. We're primarily looking at the showers being more widespread for northwest Montana. The thunderstorms primarily being in southwest Montana. Could see some gusty winds of 40 to 60 miles per hour with those storms. Best chance, or at least highest chance for severe weather, will be from Interstate 90 and north into central and eastern Montana. But Bozeman, Three Forks, Townsend, Belgrade, Manhattan, all included in the marginal risk for severe weather for this afternoon and evening. Then we get into Tuesday, likely looking at another round of showers and thunderstorms developing for southwest Montana by the afternoon hours. Wednesday is going to be that transition day. I think most of the region we're talking about warming and drying conditions, though some isolated storms, same areas down towards Butte, Bozeman, Ennis, West Yellowstone, Dillon, can't be ruled out. Thursday and Friday, we'll be into zonal flow. We're going to be looking at mostly clear to partly cloudy skies, as well as those breezy conditions. Again, right now, could see those around 15 to 25 miles per hour. We've got a few days to watch the wind threats, so we'll keep focused on this shower and thunderstorm chance over the next couple of days. We'll take all the moisture we can, or that we can get, as we've seen our drought conditions expand. Most of western Montana is in at least a moderate drought. The only exclusions are parts of Gallatin and Park counties. Outside of that, everyone's in at least a moderate, but we have severe and extreme drought for most of northwest and west central Montana. So again, I have been a little bit of a broken record on that, but we will take every drop of rain that we can get, and it's even better when we aren't dealing with thunderstorms mixed in. So that's going to be the good thing, I think, for places like Kalispell, Polson, Missoula, Hamilton. At least with these showers, I think will primarily be just rain. Can't rule out an isolated lightning strike, unlike down in southwest Montana. Those thunderstorms could be a little bit more lightning, I wouldn't say prolific, but at least more efficient at producing lightning, with a bit more heat and a bit more instability down into that portion of the region. So I think with that, I will pretty much wrap this up. Thank you all for tuning in this morning. I hope you have a great Monday. Try and stay dry, especially if you're dealing with those rain showers. As I was joking with Jason this morning, might not be a bad idea to maybe go catch a movie or just kind of hang out indoors if you can. If you're not having to get out, I don't think it's necessarily going to rain all day in places like Missoula, Hamilton, Butte, Bozeman. Kalispell, it might be a little bit of a different story. But that's where we are with that. If you have any photos or videos of this storm system, certainly feel free to share those with us at nbcmontana.com/chime in. And tune into our live broadcasts tonight at 5, 6, and 10 for the latest news and weather updates. And then tomorrow morning, me and Jason Hurst will be back for NBC Montana Today, starting at 5 o'clock. So we'll see you then, and I'll likely see you all on another YouTube Live tomorrow morning to go through what we can expect from essentially day 2 of this storm system as well. So I'll see you all in the next one. Have a great day with NBC Montana. I'm meteorologist Mitchell Combs.